So this actually ties into like the huge conversation we had, like I think it was like episode 4 where we talked about the industry downturn in 2019. That was like months ago. But so Q1 gaming industry revenue is down 3% year over year. So console revenue is up by 10% actually, which I was super surprised by, because you would think that that would trend with PC because they get like similar games. I mean, I know there's exclusives, but I mean for the most part, like it's a pretty similar model, I think.
Yeah, that I feel like that has to be battle royales for console
It might be.
because like a
Kingdom
lot
Hearts.
of like
Yeah,
I
Kingdom
know
Hearts.
like a lot of like my brother's friends and all that, like they all play Fortnite and stuff, but they all play on console, not on computer.
Mhm.
And obviously small sample size, but maybe
Yeah, but
maybe
you're
that.
probably not wrong.
I think that go ahead. Sorry, Matt. Go ahead and finish up with your piece.
Okay. Mobile revenue is down 2%. PC is down 23%. That's like unheard. I mean, that's huge. That is like enormous. So I wanted to talk about like what's causing this decline. I mean, we've had this conversation before, but like now we're actually kind of seeing this come true, right? This isn't just like a theory that we have, or like, you know, we can't just read an article and say like, yeah, like this might happen. Like it's kind of happening. You know, I point to, well, I have battle royale fatigue here. Maybe that's not the case, just with what Dave brought up. So I have like lack of innovation, lack of new titles, and I think the big one is unfinished games that come out and, you know, they're broken or they don't work and they're littered with microtransactions and DLC. I just think people just don't want this shit anymore. Like, how many times can you get tricked into, you know, in the same vein as clicking on a crab Kotaku article, you know, buying an early access game that's just garbage. And also, like, just another point on this, just it's gonna be hard to lump these two in, but mobile gaming made up 56% of industry revenue for Q1. 56. I mean, I think the last time we looked at this for last year, it might have been like 40%.
That's insane.
It's 56 now. Like,
It's a Chinese.
I mean, how do we feel about mobile being that huge? Like, that makes no sense to me. And also, like, just talk about like this decline and, you know, what's causing it and whether we're going to see more of it down the road.
Let me go off here for a second. I think there's a direct correlation between the 10% up for console and 23% down for PC, and I think it also has to do with what Dave had said in the beginning. Was younger people are, I mean, when we were younger, we liked consoles. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love them.
The PC idea is a little bit more sophisticated. It takes more research. It takes more knowledge, especially if you're building your own, and like
it takes more money.
Takes
more
capital.
money.
Yep.
Well, I mean, if you really think about it, it doesn't take more money because your system's going to last much longer.
It's more upfront cost.
Yes, exactly. More upfront cost. So that's why a younger person is more susceptible to the console, maybe. So there's the correlation right there. I'm really surprised at that 23%. I thought it would be more closer to down like 10, 15, maybe, you know, somewhere around where that the console revenue, it would make sense that there'd be a correlation, right?
Mm-hmm. So there was actually, just to clarify, so PC overall was down by like something like 4%, but there was this thing that they called PC Premium, okay, and that was down 23%, and I couldn't find out what that was, but like what I think that is like a purchase of major titles is what I think that means. And I think that like when you look at like something like a battle royale, like I think that that's still doing fine, but when you look at like PC gamers buying new like big time games, that's down 23%.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense because the pirating shit is insane. Like 2 days after games come out, they already have it pirated. You know, so that's has to be, maybe that's another thing is, and they may start having some harsh consequences for people who are pirating if it's taking that big of a hit. But I think it's definitely
I feel not to
younger people are in the games, but
not to interrupt you, I feel like pirating is like a symptom of a bad industry though. Like people
Yeah.
won't pirate if they're getting good products and like they're like supporting developers and stuff. I think people turn to piracy if they feel like they're getting like inferior products and paying for garbage.
100%.
Yeah,
There-
for the most part, that's probably true.
I'd say there's it's either two ways. Like Matt had said, people are fed up. Well, obviously there's a lot more, but generally people are fed up with the quality or just the games that are coming out in general, or it's people that have just pirated from the get-go.
Yeah, I guess you're always gonna have those people that always pirate no matter what.
Yeah.
As far as the mobile games making up 56%, I mean, I don't know. Did that stun anybody else? I feel like it's way too large.
I think Ben said it, and not to. And I'm not saying it sarcastically. I think China probably makes up for a lot of that. The top 2 mobile games on there, Perfect World, and I want to say Honor for Kings too. That's one I'm not familiar with. That's probably Chinese as well. Just huge market for those games.
Gigantic.
Yeah, well, that and like for me, I've probably said this before in a previous podcast, but everybody has a freaking phone now. Everybody has a phone. It's with them all the time. Like, you know what I mean? You can't bring your gaming PC into the shitter with you and play a video game, but you can bring your phone in and play, you know what I mean, solitaire or something. Like, there's just a lot, like almost every single person has access to playing games on their phone, and you can literally do it anywhere. So I think that is a big part of it.
Yeah.
I think,
Oh, yeah.
I think Stadia was coming out with a new play on the shitter model.
Like that, I'm interested in that.
Is
No,
it like
but
plug
I
into
don't want
your
to. I don't want to
Stadia
pick on.
thing?
I don't
Yeah,
want
you
to
have to
pick
keep
on.
you have to keep flushing to keep it powered.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's hydro.
I don't
Feed
want to
the
pick on
beast.
just China. It's a lot. It's the whole Asian industry. I mean,
Well, no,
Indians-
you're right. No, it's mostly China. I mean, the Perfect World and Honor of Kings.
I've heard that
mobile
Thailand
games
has a
that-
huge mobile. It's mostly China because they have.
Well,
such
they
a
might be lumped in, maybe-
ridiculously,
Yeah.
and it
probably
is some
true.
of India but India's kind of poor, so they don't know.
Well, that's just
Yeah.
such a big market that's like rising up right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
and-
I forget where I read this stat. I don't know what article this was in, and I also don't remember if this was console or PC, but one of them, they were saying that there are just as many either PC or console gamers in China as there are the entire population of the United States,
Well, there you go.
which is pretty nuts.
Well, yeah. I mean, look. I mean, the number one grossing PC title, Dungeon Fighter Online. Have you guys heard of that one?
No,
you
I
guys
haven't.
play it?
No,
You know anybody that plays it?
never heard of it in my life.
But there's a lot of people in China that play it.
I mean, there's gotta be. Yeah, unless like we're
Just-
really out of the loop.
Right? It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it isn't really that strange. That's just the reason that is happening is because like we've been prosperous throughout, and our thing became the PC console, right? They just got
Mm-hmm.
their middle class has just been like established over like the past 15, 20 years maybe. I maybe even closer to like 10 years. So
Very safe estimate.
and they're just being their main thing was just be like, here's the phone, here's the phone, here's your phone, you can do everything on the phone, you know what I mean? Like, why would you get a computer when you can carry around your phone? Like that must be the market over there. We're used to different markets, like the console and PC market. So it makes sense. It makes total sense to me.
Yeah, it does. When you put it that way, it does make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
I guess this is gonna be hard to answer, but do you have any predictions for like how the year's gonna end up as far as revenue wise for gaming? Like, we kind of did this last year, and I think we were all kind of in agreement that it would probably trend downward. And it seems like we were kind of on the money. Like it wasn't going to be like a huge collapse, but it would be like a slight downturn. Like, you think that's still going to trend the same way, or do you think maybe it'll pick up from something that I'm not seeing?
I don't think it will, because if you look at like first quarter earnings for a lot of the gaming companies, everything's down and below expectations. So I think that's a pretty good sign of things to come. Plus, like, it's not like you develop a game in like 3 months.
Yep. Right.
So like this year will probably be shitty again, but then I could see, in the next year or two, once we get some new stuff in the pipeline, maybe a little bit of a comeback.
I'm gonna go with my earlier prediction. I think that there will be a slight downturn, very slight, like something like this, 3%. I think that we could expect something like this, or a little bit higher, a little bit lower. And then going forward with how many huge companies is, I mean, it's probably in direct correlation with the economy, but as more huge companies get more and more involved, we'll see that to go up, because it's going to be like, you don't have Stadia, bro? Like, you're a loser. Like, you're not playing Fortnite, man. Like, that's just going to get more and more into, I feel like, because video games are just picking up.
Yeah, I think that I'm actually optimistic for this year, but not for us. With this mobile market, and I know everybody hated it, but like Diablo Immortal,
Yep.
and I think a lot of companies are going to follow suit, and they're probably already in the works to do so. With that releasing this year, it's probably going to do really well in the mobile market, especially.
Yep.
I would imagine it'll probably still show up in China. I think that they're a little stricter on the content of the video games. Even a game, maybe even being titled Diablo, might be an issue for them. That might be something to do some research into. But I imagine they'll find a way to sell it there. And I think you're going to see in 2019, revenue is going to go through the roof, and everybody's going to start
going
at least
mobile.
making sure that they may have one big mobile game.
Yeah, I mean, you just saw Bethesda do it with Blades, right?
Yeah,
I don't know how successful that's been, but I'm sure it's making money. Like, it's Elder Scrolls, so